Bop, 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 bop. Let's go, Geeks chat. We are signing in. We got the man, the myth, Victor La Mangosta. Henry stepping into the chat. I mean, if you don't know him, you're not watching too much UFC. He steps in against Raoni Barcelos, coming out from the international scene, makes a big splash. I mean, outclassed him 3 rounds. Welcome to the UFC, brother. How are you?
Bro, I'm chilling. It's just hot in Southern California, but I stayed trained anyways. Doing everything that I for, so I ain't changed except for my Instagram followers.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely getting that clout going up after a performance like that. Like, you can only imagine. I mean, that Raoni Barcelos had a lot of respect on his name coming into that matchup. Um, Obviously, people didn't do their research enough because they had you pinned as a huge underdog coming into that matchup. A lot of guys were on the other side doubting you, but you come out, prove everyone wrong, prove that you're a serious contender. They don't give you a ranking, but Tapology's got you at number 21, and there's definitely a couple guys ahead of you that you can make the debate that politics play a part in why they're ahead of you. But now that we've made the splash and all this kind of stuff, what's it kind of looking like for you? What's been the holdup? When are you coming back?
The only holdup has been I was just dealing with some nagging injury that I had after the fight, and not even from before the fight, not even from the fight. It was after the fight. I pretty much got back into it. Something happened in the gym, and the UFC was actually looking to get me back in June, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to take it because of the injury. And now that the injury is all right, my coaches and I we're looking to get back in there soon. And UFC has reached out, and they have a month they have a month in their date. I mean, in their head. They haven't given me anything. They haven't given me an opponent. They haven't given me a date. They just said, "Can you be ready by this month?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm down with it."
Yeah. So going off, I remember for your debut, it was supposed to be in December, and then I think either you or Raoni got a little bit of COVID. They bumped you back to that pay-per-view in your hometown with I'm sure a lot of people reaching out. What was that week like? Was it stressful, or were you just so locked in that nothing was really going to get in your way?
Well, what was funny is that the initial fight in December, so when you check in, they give you a COVID test, and then they isolate you in your room. This was per the Nevada State Commission, so it wasn't even the UFC's rule. It was the commission's rule. After that first COVID test, they said, "Okay, you're clear." Like a day or two later, they gave you another COVID test. You're clear. And then on the very last COVID test, which was right after weigh-ins, they give you the okay to fight. So I weighed in. Everything was good. I go back to the hotel, took the third COVID test, and it was actually me that popped for COVID. So I passed 2 out of the 3 tests, and during that entire time, we were isolated. We weren't allowed to go out on the town. So it wasn't like I went out and I partied or anything. It was one of those things where as soon as I came up with that positive test, I said, "Hey, is there a way I can retest so we can make sure it's not a false positive? Like let's make this fight happen." And they said, "Nah, like once you pop, then that's it." I'm like, fuck, all right. And the fight actually never got rescheduled for that pay-per-view. What ended up happening was the only reason why they brought me in is because I was supposed to be a replacement because they were looking for a fight for Raoni. It wasn't the fact that they brought me in as a late replacement because, oh yeah, we like Victor Henry. They were actually bringing me in because they were looking for a fight for him. So I didn't even know if that was going to be a fight that was going to happen because Raoni was dealing with the end of his visa in order to even be able to fight in the United States. So I guess they were looking for people for him again. And then what ended up happening was 2 weeks before that pay-per-view, they said, "Hey, we actually got a slot here. Would you be willing to fight Raoni?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do this again." So just to wrap this all up, initially pop for COVID. Of course, when I get back to Southern California, I'm like, okay, I gotta wait a while. I gotta isolate for 2 weeks, and then jump back in the gym because I don't know when they're gonna call me or if they're gonna call me. So as soon as I isolate for 2 weeks, then make sure I'm negative, and then go back. 2 weeks later, I gotta fight against Raoni. So I literally came off the couch for 2 weeks.
Damn.
That is crazy, man. You get the call to the UFC, and then this all goes down, and then you don't even know if you're in the UFC, and then bang, bang, right back into it.
Right back into it.
Absurdity. Fishman, what you got?
No, that sounds just kind of crazy. I mean, a lot of people's like first time into the UFC seems like that. I mean, like just like you don't know when the call is going to come, and you just have to be ready. You don't know, and then there's just a bunch of uncertainty. But I don't know. It's just like you seem well collected and just ready to go whenever.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, bro, like all these fights are pretty much the same. After you've, especially after you've done it a while, every fight is the same. The things that change are everything that's not related to the fight. If I was gonna fight you, the first thing that you're worried about is me punching you in the face. You're not worried about the crowd. You're not worried about what show it is. You're not worried about, because everything changes. The pay, the betting odds, the attendance. Is it a ring? Is it a cage? Is it going to be in the backyard? Everything changes, but the one thing that's the same is somebody's pretty much going to try to sock you in the face. So, you know, especially from traveling from, to Japan, to Russia, and fighting in those countries, you learn that. It's like, yeah, every fight is pretty much going to be the same. Someone's either going to try to punch you in the face, or they're going to try to choke you the hell out.
Yeah.
So
no, these are the facts.
why am I gonna trip on all the other things that don't even matter? People started asking me about, oh, did you get the UFC jitters? I was like, no, because I ain't even worried about the other people. I ain't worried about what decals in the middle of the cage. I'm worried about the person trying to punch me.
Dude,
Legend.
always one constant. Someone's across from you, and your job's
You
get
are
it
a
done.
legend.
Yep.
Yo, so a couple things. I got two off rip. I mean, this nickname, the Mongoose, the La Mangosta. I mean, where does this originate?
So a lot of people don't know, but I'm actually half Mexican, and my dad from a kid used to call me El Monstruo. That was my nickname, the monster. When I started training with Josh Barnett, he wanted to come up with a nickname that, kind of like reflected my roots in my heritage, especially growing up in LA, half Mexican, but I look white. So he goes, oh, we're going to come up with something. So he comes back the next day. He goes, we're going to call you La Mangosta. I was like, why? He goes, well, it's in Spanish for one. And number two, you're like a mongoose, dude. You're like small, feisty, curious. You get into shit, but somebody tries to cross you and you're going to rip some fucker's head off. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I guess that's my nickname. You don't get to choose your own nickname, especially. So
That's
it is
facts.
what it is.
Yeah, you just
Oh,
take
yeah.
it on.
And
Another thing I got before I go back to you, Goosey. So I mean, we're sitting right here. They're gonna send a name soon. Is there any names that you have off the top of your head that like you're picking at? I mean, you can kind of pick if you ask me after a performance like that, you're number 21 on Tapology. You can kind of hand pick a little bit, maybe throw a couple names at the wall, and I feel like one of them might stick. I got a couple in my head. I mean, you see O'Malley, this bantamweight division stacked. We all know it. People say it's one of the best divisions in all of MMA. O'Malley's getting this fight going way up against Petrion. That leaves Pedro Munoz laying around. He's an older guy in the division. He's been holding the spot there. I feel like that's a good matchup for you. Make you dive into the rankings like that. There's other guys on the brink of the rankings. Is Jack Shore? He just lost. He's sitting at 15. That could be a good matchup. I mean, is there any names that you have in mind?
I have no idea, bro. It really depends on what direction the UFC wants to go with me. People have to remember that first, the UFC is a company, and this company needs to make money. And how do they make money? By advertising fights. The reality of the situation is, even though I did make a big noise in the UFC for my first fight, it was still my first fight in the UFC. So they can't really market me to anybody who's top 15 because people would be like, oh, well, who's Victor Henry? We're going to put him against, anybody who's top 15. Anybody who's top 15 has already had a few fights in the UFC, so they can already promote them. But for me, unless they're going to pull from all my Japan experience and my Russia experience, that one fight against Raoni is the only fight that they're going to be able to pull from. Give me a second. So what's it called? Yeah, they're knocking on my door. But that's the only one they're gonna be able to pull from. So I'm thinking that the UFC might want to build me up a little bit in order to sell a fight, in order to sell a bigger draw, whether it be on fight night or maybe on a main card on a pay-per-view. I have to consider that of course the UFC wants to make money off my name, not just let's give him some fights that seem exciting. They have to promote it and make it exciting for the fans.
Right.
Now, with that said, I really don't know. As far as experience and skill wise, I think I match up pretty well with anybody in those top 15. Anybody who's a really diehard fan will see that, now that, anybody who's followed my career be like, oh yeah, Victor Henry will actually match well against this person or match well against that person. Or even if it's a bad matchup, they know it's going to be a good fight. A lot of people don't know, but I was actually supposed to fight Pedro Munoz many years ago. Many years ago. He was 3-0 and he was 4-0 and I was 3-0 fighting in Southern California, respecting the cage. We actually, he didn't make weight, but we were gonna scrap, but my medicals didn't come through and he didn't make weight. So they scratched that fight. It was actually on a card that Brian Ortega was going to fight on also. And Christos Siagos was going to fight on that card too.
That's a storyline in itself. And if you ask me, I mean, that's just, I mean, I think that's the path that they should take with you, is to just propel you through, see how far you can get. I mean, you made a big splash. Everyone respects you. The diehards know you're going to make good fights for these guys up there. I think that should be the move. If it was your preference, that's what you would want to do though, right? Or are you kind of like, let's just take this easy?
You know what? I'm down with either. My shelf life, as far as I feel good for a 35-year-old. I feel good. I compete regularly with the younger guys athletically. I'm not necessarily technique wise, because of course I've been doing this a little bit longer. And I'm not, I'm a mixed martial artist, but I do, grapple with Kennedy Cobrinha, the Michael Jordan of grappling, his kid. I regularly grapple with him, and I'm kickboxing with some high level kickboxing guys. So, we technique wise, it's here and there with the different fighters that I get. I mean, with the different fighters I get to train with, but my body feels good enough to compete athletically with these younger guys, and that's at 35 years old. So, where do these guys want to go with my old ass body? I don't even know.
Yeah. No, you mentioned you're a veteran of the game. You've been all around. I saw you were in Rise and Russian cage fighting. What was your favorite promotion to fight for outside of the UFC?
Rising.
Yeah.
Only because I'm pretty much a fatso too. I mean, anytime you go to Japan, you just I swear, you land in the airport, and then when you start driving around, you can just see all the bakeries that are around. Those dudes love bakeries, French bakeries especially. Yeah, you'll see all that, and then of course, people just think, oh, Japan sushi. Nah, not so much. Japan actually has the second most Michelin star rated restaurants outside of Italy, I think, or France, one of those. But they have a lot of great food, steaks. I mean, shit. I mean, you're talking about, fast food steak spots. You can literally go up to a spot, you say, give me a 16-ounce steak, medium rare, and they give it to you, and it's freaking great. It's not, you don't have to go through a whole restaurant experience to get a nice steak. It's a good steak and at a kind of a fast food kind of deal. It's ridiculous.
Fire.
That's wild. That is wild. But so also another thing, I think one of the biggest things that pops out to me about you, I don't know if you get this a lot, but to me, you have one of the best tattoos in the UFC. The Nacho Libre Say Uncle tat.
Oh, yeah.
That is top tier for me.
Yeah, it got a shout out from Chris Pontius from Jackass. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's dope.
That is one.
Yeah,
sure.
it's a nod to my catch wrestling heritage from Josh Barnett. It's Luthez getting somebody in a Boston crab basically.
Oh,
Yeah, well,
That's
you're
awesome.
talking about how you can keep up with these younger guys still. I mean, you go through your record, and one of them that stands out is that you beat a 5-0 Kyler Phillips. And I believe you were like 12-2 at the time or something. It's like Kyler Phillips is that special talent. Everyone sees in the UFC. They've seen it, on a weekly basis now for like a year or so. I mean, the fact that you can beat a guy like that in just a few years ago just, proves in itself the talent that you have. The question that I have is when you started in 2010, where did you see this journey taking you? Is this where you thought you would end up here in the UFC on the biggest stage at 35? Or what was your like outlook when you started this whole scrap game?
Well, I mean, of course, when I started, I wanted to be the best. I had to remind myself that every day and every fight that I had, it wasn't to get to the UFC. It was just to be the best that I could be and to fight wherever fights take me. I've had a lot of training partners and friends that they would always say the same thing. I want to fight in the UFC. I want to fight in the UFC. Well, motherfucker, what happens when you get there? You've reached your goal and that's it. All of a sudden you have to create a new goal. So I made sure to set my sights higher than that. The UFC might have come and it might have went. I had a 2 or 3 fight losing streak, and I could have just kissed my UFC dreams goodbye, but it wasn't about the UFC. It was about me fighting, becoming the best that I could be. And every day when I would remind myself with that, I would take these chances in the gym. I would not be afraid to try new things and develop new skills and do everything that led me to this point so far. So it wasn't about UFC. It was about fighting. What people ask me, why did I start this? It wasn't for the UFC. It wasn't even for the UFC belt. It was to become the best that I could be. And that drives me every day. Who knows where that's going to take me, but wherever it takes me is wherever it takes me. But I have to remember to be true to myself and what my goal really is. Not just get to the UFC and stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Definitely.
cutting promos right now. You're cutting the promos right now, man. You telling you it's not marketable. Come on, guy.
I'm just like I said. I gotta see what the UFC wants to do.
You're the wild man that just entered the scene. I mean, you're like the guy right now. I mean, you
Bro,
got the
I'm
hype
over
and
here.
still there.
Speaking of wild man, bro, I'm thinking about getting rid of this beard soon, only because I look like Robin Williams coming out of Jumanji.
Dude, I heard that you like to keep it long. It's always been long. Is that you?
The hair, the beard, however, is because I'm lazy. When it comes to grooming and personal, like shaving on my face, bro, I'm lazy. I'd rather just take a nap. Go take a nap and get up and go train, or get up earlier so I can shave my face. Nah, bro, I'm a chill. I'm gonna take a nap. Man, people say, well, why not just go to the barber? Because then I gotta get up and go to the barber. Like, bro, I'm just gonna lay down instead. How about that?
So
Well, you're training like you are. You earn a few naps here and there for sure. So
Absolutely, bro. I mean, my days start at 5:30 a.m. when I get up, go to the gym, box, lift, run, drill, fight practice, and then I go home by like 2:30, something like that, and then take a little nap. Then I go. Right now, I'm working on my 1970 Cutlass. So, shit. After this interview, I'm gonna eat. Then I'm gonna head out to this guy's house, and we're gonna work on this Cutlass.
let's go,
So
man.
it's always going, bro.
oh yeah. I see you're in the lab working on new moves. I saw the double wrist lock with the deadly finish the other day. That's
Double wrist lock choke.
How's that work?
So apparently that video has got 3.3 million views.
Yeah.
Damn, the UFC's got to love that. The
Oh,
UFC's gotta
bro.
love that.
So check this out. I learned that from Eric Paulson. Okay, it's a funny joke. You get two of their wrists, boop, and you bash them in the head with your pecker. I did it to somebody a long time ago, and sure enough, you get people cycling through the gym, and some people stay for a while, some people leave, but anyways, there's always pretty much new faces in the gym. So then my one of the training partners goes, "Hey Vic, show Chris your double wrist lock choke." And here's the thing: a lot of people know what a kimura is, but in catch wrestling they call it a double wrist lock. We don't call it a kimura; we call it double wrist lock. So naturally, if I say, "Oh, double wrist lock choke," people are thinking about how do you get the shoulder and choke them with it? The heck is that? So I said, "All right, come here, Chris. I grab his hand, I grab the other hand, I twist on his wrist, and he falls to his knees, and I just go boom, start pressing pickle on his forehead, and sure enough, 3.3 million views later.
Let's go. Let's go.
Viral.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was he goes, Vic, why you gotta disrespect me like that? And I was like, shut up, put your gear on. I'm gonna disrespect you even more.
Yeah, shut
So
up. Let's get after it.
for the fans at home learning about Victor Henry, seeing you on the UFC octagon, what you mentioned catch wrestling as a background, but you went in there and outdid Barcelos at his own game. Was that something that you were planning on, standing and banging and really showing your skills up top? Or were you in there ready to mix it up too?
I was ready to mix it up, but I'm not gonna make a fight harder than it has to be. And if I was finding success with my hands, so shit, I threw a kick and he ended up kind of walking through it, and that ended up being the only takedown in the fight. But while I was there, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna abandon the kicks for now, and then later on, see if get back into it. But I was having such success with the hands that I was like, man, I'm gonna stay right here. I wouldn't necessarily call it banging it out, because I was thinking to myself, I can't stand right in front of him because this is where his power is. But if I stand, I can't run too far back, because then now he's chasing me the entire time, and now I got to use my legs to get on my bike, and that's going to take a lot of cardio out of me. So I got to stand just close enough to make him feel like he can step to me, but just far enough to where he's going to really whiff a punch, but I'm just slightly out of range. So, and then when he does that, hit him with 3, hit him with 4, hit him with just, pop, pop him, use my lead leg front kick to hit him in the guts, use my jab to, keep him still. And then, of course, he's going to keep walking forward. I mean, Raoni Barcelos has got some power, shaking his hand before the fight, when I would see him, through the mess of things, we're doing media, we're doing weigh-ins, and just shaking his hand. I was like, bro, this dude feels like he's made out of wood. This dude is strong. So I was like, I don't want to stand right in front of him, but I got to make him throw. I got to make him throw hard enough to where he uses energy, but stay just outside so he doesn't actually connect really well. Because if he connects really well, it'll be an early night for it, early night for us both. So using my jab, using my front kick, staying in front of him, but just slightly outside of the range, and using my footwork just to style on him. And then I remember there was a moment where he had me against the cage, and I just kind of circled out, kind of let my feet play underneath me. And then I remember going back to the gym, and sure enough, one of my homies, one of my training partners, Dom, he goes, yeah, I knew you had that fight when you did that little foot, that little foot swag and everything. I was like, well, I mean, I guess that's what you felt, bro. I was tired in there.
That's funny.
That's crazy to hear the game within the game, because to a lot of us fans and people watching, it kind of looks like just in there duking it out, but the technique behind it is, especially at the highest level, is crazy to hear about. So I appreciate you diving into that for us.
Love the tactical words, man. We love that, man. You got to come on and help us with some geeker predictions talking like that, man. You got to hop on.
You know what? It's funny because there's a lot of things where whenever I see a fight, especially since I've been in this for so long, and all my coaches are, I wouldn't say significantly older than me, because Josh Barnett, he's only about 10 years older than me, but most of my coaches have been older dudes that have been out, that have been in martial arts longer than I've been alive, so whether it be boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, things like that, I have to make sure that I get those kinds of coaches, because usually fans will, I wouldn't say fans, but usually even fighters will look at a fight and will be like, oh, he drops his hand when he does this. He drops his hand. I'm not even looking at that, because that's specific to that fight, that, because this person was fighting this person. What does this person habitually do about their style that I can possibly expose for myself? So in learning that, how to break down opponents, I also do the same thing for my training partners. We have a few guys fighting in a couple weeks, and one of our guys was having trouble with some footwork stuff, and I'm like, bro, here's where you're getting caught up. The reason why you're getting caught up here is is because your feet aren't actually doing the work that it's supposed to be doing. So let's make this adjustment now before the fight. All right, Vic. So then sure enough, he goes and works on it for a week. And I'm like, now how do you feel within these rounds with the same person? How do you feel? Oh, I was able to, sit more on this power or be able to defend better or, wherever it comes with it. I was like, yeah, that all came from just that one adjustment from your feet. Now let's work on progressing it from the base up, so it's, learning how to break other people down as far as technique. You learn how to break yourself down and slow things down. I always tell these people, you can't be afraid to suck again. What's going to end up happening is you get good. Look at Raoni Barcelos. Even the Brazilians in my camp were like, that's a motherfucker right there. And I was like, yeah, I know. And he goes, no, like in Brazil, there was, there was jiu-jitsu magazines and everything. In Brazil, this guy was, even as a kid, was in those magazines because he was a standout wrestler and jiu-jitsu guy. I'm like, yeah, I know. But you look at his fights, somewhere along the line, he discovered that he had good power in his hands. So what did he do? He just started really going for, counter wrestling, started boxing a lot more when he fought Timur Valiev, he dropped him and he went for the finish, but it didn't quite happen, So what happens along the line when we get good at something? We are afraid to go back to the things that we're crappy at. We're afraid to suck again. But you can't think like that. You have to go in there and continue the things that you're good at, build the things that you're bad at, and constantly be in the gym. You don't have to go hard all the damn time. That's the problem when people don't want to get better, is because they're gonna get their ass whooped. It's like, well, yeah, I don't want to get my ass whooped any more than the next person, but if I trust you that you're not gonna give me brain damage when I make a mistake, then that's how we create better fighters. Max Holloway had it right. He goes, shit, I spar 4 times a week. I don't spar hard every time, but I do spar 4 times a week. Sometimes it's touch sparring, no shin guards, MMA gloves. Let's touch spar. Let's go. Takedowns, wrestling, all that stuff. But obviously, we're not beating the crap out of each other. So, because I still got some brain cells. And I need it. Yeah.
Yeah, Fish, you got anything?
No, I'm just listening on. I'm just letting them talk, bro. I just want to hear what you got to say more than what I got to say.
Yeah, no, facts. I was just seeing if you had a cue before we, wrap it up. I want to keep you here all day. Heard you got to get to that whip, man. Put that thing together. But I got to get a couple of things out of you real quick.
What's up, buddy?
Predictions. All right. Let's see it. We got Sean O'Malley and we got Peter Yan. That'll be the first one. What do you got?
Yeah. Peter Yan has already fought Sandhagen. I think Sandhagen has more ways to win than Sugar Sean. But Sean is a lot more likely to keep the fight longer than Sandhagen. Sandhagen is not afraid to get closer, uses hooks, elbows, knees, all that stuff. So that might play into where Peter Yan is going to have a harder time getting to Sugar Sean. I do believe though that Sean has got some questionable legs. Especially if he starts calf kicking them, leg kicking them, and everything. I do believe that Sean his first reaction will be to retreat rather than to sit on that lead leg and throw a hard straight down the pipe. And even if he does, Peter Yan, he's got a good pull to a right cross, and he uses it over and over again. He'll stick his hands up, put his hands up right next to his face, lean forward to get people to throw that strike so he can dip and just throw a hard right cross. Who did he get that from? Floyd Mayweather, because Floyd Mayweather does it all the time. However, I think that if Sean might have the advantage.
They're on the Yan side of this, but I think there's path to victories for both.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. And like I said, Sean fights long. Peter Yan needs to get in, but he hasn't had an issue getting in on people. I think of course the pressure is on Sean because Sean has never fought a Peter Yan. Peter Yan has fought a Sean before.
Yeah, these are the facts. What about Merab Aldo? We'll leave it with that, and we'll get you a message to the people.
All right. Well, I was just in Vegas, and I actually rolled with Merab for a couple weeks ago, and that dude is gorilla strong. He is really strong. He's we weren't going 100%, but he is still really strong. If the Aldo that came to fight Pedro Munoz shows up, then I'm going Aldo. Because the Aldo that fought Pedro Munoz was very different than the Aldo that fought Rob Font. At least that's what I saw. Cardio wise, hands wise, if Aldo comes in fighting Merab like he fought Pedro Munoz, I think it's going to be an Aldo night. But again, if Merab gets a hold of him and just is not afraid just to turn it into a wrestling match, I don't think that Aldo has the same strength that he did at 145. So, of course, that had a lot to do with it, is counter wrestling and his ability to just get his hips to the floor and scramble and everything. I don't think he's going to have the same thing fighting at 135.
Did we get official picks? Did we get official picks right there? Did we get a Sean
O'Malley? I'm gonna go Jan and I'm gonna go Aldo.
Oh,
let's go. All right. Well, bro, we super appreciate it, bro. Get to the car, fix that thing up real nice. Let's get a fight signed. Let's get you back on here. Let's talk it up. Let's market it up. Let's get you in the rankings, brother. Thank you again, bro.
Yeah,
absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me, guys.
Sir.
Of course, and Bantamweights, he's studying the game. Watch out. He's coming for you.
I'm going for a steak right now. That's what I'm finna do, and that car.
There we go.
That mongoose. Let's go. Yeah. All right, bro. Take it easy. We're out.
Bye.